Hey, welcome back everyone. It is now September 24th of 2020, and ever since the very end of the Skywalker saga, a lot of fans around the world have been very intrigued about the future of the Star Wars franchise by Disney, Lucasfilm, Bob Iger, Bob Chapek, you name it, and exactly what the franchise is really going to be like in the next couple of years. This is Mike Zero. Make sure to subscribe if you're new to the channel for future Star Wars content. Now, the one thing about Disney Star Wars is that, yes, we do know that they are now currently in a phase of damage control and desperation to really get the ball rolling again. I mean, let's face it, we saw this single-handedly with The Rise of Skywalker. This one movie in the sequel trilogy really gave fans the ultimate decision to just walk away from Star Wars. A large chunk of the fan base just said no more, and that's the exact type of fans that Bob Iger and Bob Chapek are trying to get back into the Star Wars universe. They are actively working on TV shows, both in live action and animated form, as well as the new Star Wars trilogy of movies and other spin-off films in the works throughout this entire decade. Now, beyond all of this, what's really exciting all has to do with the fact that, yes, we do have Iger and Chapek trying to redeem Star Wars, trying to really bring back the magic of Star Wars, the pre-Disney era. We're talking about how it was before 2012 when Disney bought out Lucasfilm and when Lucas basically gave everything over to Disney and Kathleen Kennedy. So it really is going to be quite a very interesting road of the evolution of Star Wars, and seeing, The Mandalorian Season 2's trailer a couple of days ago, I gotta say, everything looked fantastic. Everything looked pretty much, on a more higher budget scale, I would say, as far as how the trailer was done. And I really do believe that Season 1 was just the beginning, and now we're really ramping things up. But I digress. What's really unfortunate all has to do with creator George Lucas and how it all has to do with Kathleen Kennedy. With the Skywalker saga now over, both Disney and Lucasfilm have been developing their new Star Wars universe, while also working on the new Star Wars trilogy of movies in order to deliver a brand new mythology to Star Wars fans around the world. Now, it's noted that Lucasfilm is currently going over a drastic makeover of all, of course, what Lucasfilm was going through, and is currently going over a drastic change, all because of Bob Chapek making that many changes by hiring new creatives to handle the franchise in a unique way. However, though Kathleen Kennedy currently has little to no creative power as of right now, during the principal photography stage of The Rise of Skywalker, before the reshoots were initiated, both George Lucas, J.J. Abrams, and Chris Terrio were working together on the film to deliver an exciting experience for the fandom. George Lucas was originally working on many scenes that had to do with the actual Skywalkers, such as Luke, Anakin, and even Ben Solo, and Leia, that would have been a completely different film than what fans got on the big screen in late 2019. Now, the plan by Lucasfilm's Kathleen Kennedy at the time was to allow George to work on segments of the movie to see how things would go with the sequel trilogy, with Lucas on board handling the franchise and more. Now, on top of this, the process of all of this eventually was no longer in Kathleen Kennedy's interest, given that she was not pleased with Hayden Christensen's acting skills as Anakin Skywalker's Force Ghost in the movie, and decided to pull out all major Anakin Skywalker scenes from the film that Lucas was working on. The main reason as to why Kennedy eventually decided to let go of George Lucas and fire him from working on The Rise of Skywalker also had to do with more creative differences between himself and Kennedy, and trying to make the final film have too many connections to the prequel trilogy era. So let's stop right here for a second, alright? The thing about Kathleen Kennedy, once again, is that they always have this stigma with the prequel trilogy. Even Bob Iger admitted to this, is that with The Force Awakens, they wanted to play it safe because of what happened with the prequel movies. Now, say what you will about the prequel films, but they do have their moments, even in Episode 1, which is considered to be, a very, criticized movie because of how it was handled by Lucas, and especially how, the whole Jake Lloyd situation as Anakin Skywalker was handled. I honestly had no problem with the film. Do I think it was among, a couple of the worst Star Wars movies out there? I would say yes, it's out there, but it is in no way worse than The Last Jedi at all. In fact, I enjoy The Phantom Menace a whole lot more than The Last Jedi. Say what you will about The Phantom Menace, it feels a whole lot more like Star Wars. I don't know how to explain it. It's different, but it still has that Star Wars spirit to it. So for Kathleen Kennedy to really not want to really stick with the prequel trilogy content in The Rise of Skywalker, it just goes to show us, the fans, that Kathleen Kennedy did not care about the fans at all in any way, shape, or form. This is exactly why she went on to fire George Lucas, let him go of this project, and just go on with her day pretty much with no remorse. And that's another thing, is the fact that she has no remorse over these major decisions that she makes. This is pretty much her iconic piece of her personality, is that she makes these bold decisions out of the blue that are very controversial and doesn't really seem to care. And she always drops, creative differences. That's what she always talks about. She had this with Lord and Miller. She had this with other writers for The Force Awakens. She had this with, George Lucas and Chris Terrio and JJ even on the original cut of The Rise of Skywalker. And let's not forget that even in the beginning of The Mandalorian Season 1 is that she also had differences with Jon Favreau. So it really is no surprise that Kathleen Kennedy would be how she is, or was, with The Rise of Skywalker. Now, moving on beyond this is that, of course, Kathleen Kennedy was not thrilled about the path and feared that the movie would fall and fail, and not only that, but also that Lucas was not following Kennedy's agenda for the Star Wars franchise. This led the Kennedy to fire George Lucas and take him off of production for Episode 9, and leave it only to J.J. Abrams and Terrio to handle for the last film. Now, this upset George Lucas deeply and was the main reason as to why he did not attend the premiere for The Rise of Skywalker back in December. Lucas refused to attend given that he had such a bad experience with Kathleen Kennedy, not just for this film, but also for the entire sequel trilogy, and how she refused to use any of his concepts and/or his ideas in the beginning. Kennedy originally brought Lucas on board in an attempt to fix aspects of The Last Jedi, but eventually realized that with Lucas on board, the film was going in a drastic, different direction than what Kennedy visualized for the end of the Skywalker saga. This in turn led her to fire Lucas and deleting anything that Lucas worked on for Episode 9 at the time with Abrams. Currently, Chapek is working hard to get a Lucas cut for the fans on Disney Plus sometime in 2023, given that he is inspired by the Snyder Cut of Justice League that is set to debut on HBO Max in 2021 next year. So once again here, it's a very interesting process of what's happening with The Rise of Skywalker, as how we have Chapek really trying to do everything in his power to deliver the JJ/Lucas cut in 23, which honestly, as time flies by, it's not going to be that much longer. I think that when we look at everything here, we got a really good run of Star Wars. We got The Mandalorian in place, the Kenobi series, the Ahsoka Tano series. They're even actually contemplating making a Boba Fett spin-off Mandalorian series that'll actually connect into this mini-verse, if you will, on Disney Plus that's going to be more oriented with the Mandalorian universe. So looking forward to all of this, because when you think about it this way, what Jon Favreau is trying to do is that he's trying to be very iconic. I really do feel for George Lucas being let go and fired from Episode 9. It really makes you wonder what could have been for the Anakin Skywalker scenes and all the other scenes that had to do with Ben, Luke, and Leia and all these different aspects of Episode 9 that really could have given us a more positive view of Star Wars and a better take on the very end of the Skywalker saga. I mean, think about this. There were so many creative differences to the point where George Lucas did not even want to attend the premiere of Episode 9. That to me says a lot, and that to me honestly tells us that George at that point in time was just done. And once Kennedy lost her creative control, that was George's, time to really put himself out there and really bring Star Wars back on the table and back to the way it used to be. So, like I've said before, I think that we really are on the road to success here. We do know that Disney wants to make Star Wars as big as Marvel and as successful as Marvel. I think that they will get there. It's just going to take time. Jon Favreau started the MCU with Iron Man 1 in 2008. Here he is starting the new Star Wars universe with The Mandalorian, and it's pretty much funny how he's also doing it with Star Wars. So, like I've said before in the past, guys, drop a comment below. Let me know what you think about all of this in the comments, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, do make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.